everyone, here we are with Terence Krey and Christine Nyland. They are the duo behind The Summoners, and that's a film that premiered at Brooklyn Horror Film Festival just recently, October 18th. Terence, Christine, how are you?
Oh,
Really
we're
good.
great. We're doing
Awesome.
good. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. I'm just out here in the woods.
I like
Um,
this background. Yeah, big fan of this background. That
Yeah,
looks
it's
like an image
excellent.
from a pretty cool movie. I'd like to check that out.
People should actually. Um, so let's see here. Can you tell us, Terrence, can you tell us about the Summoners or Summoners?
Sure. Summoners, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Summoners is a story about a a woman who returns to her hometown. Her name's Jess, played by Christine Nyland, who also co-wrote the film. And she returns to her hometown, doesn't really know why. Has kind of a sudden urge to do it, and she runs into an old friend from high school, Alana. And we soon learn that they both practice witchcraft in high school, and Alana's still doing it, and Jess kind of has stopped. She kind of grew out of it, and Alana needs her help with a spell. And some dark forces ensue, but also some secrets are revealed, and Jess kind of comes to terms with both her relationship to witchcraft and her relationship to some family issues with her mother that passed back in high school.
Mm.
So it's kind of it's got some spooky things. It's got some indie drama. It's got some practical magic vibes. If there's any fans out there of that one, and yeah.
Excellent. And the so the two of you wrote the film. So you're director writer. Christine is writer actor. And so Christine, let's talk about your character, Jess or Jessica. Um, what is she about? What is she running from?
Ooh, Jess is someone who has a sort of rigid worldview, and doesn't have a ton of grace for people. And so, as Sir Terence alluded to, there's some issues with her late mother, who she's like never forgiven for some things. And this movie really sort of like brings her to the brink of like what is the cost of that lack of grace, and how does it impact you, and how does it impact the people around you. And as any good character arc will do, she hopefully comes to some new conclusions about that by the end of the film.
Yeah. And this film dives into a lot of identity versus kind of the legacies we're born into.
Mm.
What made you guys tell this story? What was so alluring about this subject matter?
I mean, I think right off the bat, we knew we wanted to work on a witch film. Um, Practical magic was in the conversation a lot, but The Craft also came up because I feel like that's another like seminal witch movie. And when we rewatched it as we were just barely beginning development, I think we were really struck, watching it as adults, right? Because it came out years ago when we were very young. Watching it as adults and realizing that the class politics of that film are actually really uncomfortable. You have Robin Tooney's character, Sarah, is like this sort of affluent young woman whose mother practiced magic. She has like an inheritance in multiple ways. She moves to town. She falls in with these women in her school who are already practicing. And then you have Nancy, Fruza Balk's character, is the antagonist of the film, who is really from the wrong side of the tracks. And the central conflict is Nancy like claiming magic she doesn't have a right to have. She doesn't have an inheritance, and she uses it to get her and her mom an apartment, and to get her mom out of an abusive relationship. And the film really sets out to punish her for that.
Mhm.
And I think we just, yeah, like that's not what I remembered that film being about, but watching it with adult eyes and an adult analysis of the world, I was like, oh, we need a more empowering story than this. We need a story that's like more compassionate, to all of these women. So that was the film we set out to write.
Yeah, it felt so immediate, kind of starting to develop it, that um, there's a very easy place to go of like really pitting these women against each other, and like, well, one of them's going to be bad, or one of them. And I think there was a real choice to try and like, how do we create a good horror narrative of what as well, with things bad happening and scares and
And conflict, right?
mortal
It
danger.
needs
Yeah,
conflict.
exactly. Yeah,
Well,
but really not have it end with there's a bad one and a good one.
Which is sort of where these themes of like grace and empathy and like what we owe to the people in our lives, even when they mess up, that's sort of where those arose from.
yeah, so it kind of sounds like you revisited your childhood take on the craft, or films similar to that, and decided to tell that story
Yeah.
instead of the one that it actually is. um you are exploring themes of empowerment and also just support community, like you said, grace. um and what, like, why was that so important to you to tell? Do you, and to wrap into a horror film?
I mean, for one thing, I will say something that I think we were both very proud of when we were sending this script out for feedback was a number of people were like, oh, this is like a really sweet horror film. And it's the word sweet kept coming up, which felt very good because our first film, Unquiet Grave, was kind of very dour and dire and dark. Um, I don't know. I know, at least for me, like grace and empathy are something I think about a lot, right? And where are the lines? Like I really don't like walking away from people, walking away from relationships. And I also think a lot of times when we do that, there's narrativizing that's going on in our heads that like further underscores, like, right, people mess up, but that doesn't make them bad people. And oftentimes I think we flatten that. And so that was something that just felt worth exploring in a narrative. It felt culturally significant right now. I think we're definitely in a period of time where it's much easier to write people off, right? And how do you hold space for like the behavior was bad or there was a mistake or something bad did happen, but that doesn't mean like this person is now valueless. This person now doesn't deserve any community or support, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think it was also just like, I don't know, for me, the film, such an initial kind of thing that's ingrained in the film is we're not doing the witch as monster, right? We're doing the witch as hero. And I think that, like, when I think of my own relationship to kind of you know uh, uh words like witchcraft and magic and kind of the supernatural, I think that, yeah, there was just a desire to have it be more about people coming together and people helping each other, and how can that be used as like something to lift each other up. um but
And also
still,
playing on
yeah, go ahead,
sorry.
Christine.
Also playing on like old tropes of like the witch as like this woman who lives on the outskirts of
Yeah.
town who like offers services that the town desperately needs, but is still vilified for them. That sort of paradox of the way that historically we've related to the archetype of the witch is very much in Alana and the way the town is relating to Alana
Yeah.
at the beginning of the film.
Uh-huh.
And even how we kind of integrated that into the kind of higher concept antagonist of
Hmm.
Iska, of the Sin Eater, right? Like, she's really just, it's interesting. I actually feel like I was just reading some reviews today, and I feel like there's been some like talk of like calling Iska as a demon, and I think that was like, actually, our intention is like, she's just Alana plus 3,000 years, maybe, you know what I mean? And there's something interesting in kind of like, yeah, it's just, it's still just humanity. It's still just like dealing with kind of the same themes we're dealing with Jess and Alana.
Uh-huh. The horror genre, to me, this is why I love this genre, is because you it is a horror film, but you can also use it to convey these metaphors, or these stories, and give it a deeper meaning, or a more playful kind of a patina. Why did you choose horror to kind of lace through this? Because this could have just been you know any story about a witch. I mean, practical magic is not necessarily horror, but why is this one kind of pulled into the genre?
I mean, I think across the board, I think one of the reasons we like working in the horror space is it gives you the ability to like heighten your text in a way that is really hard to do in like contemporary American realism, right? Whether that is through supernatural things or metaphors, or yeah, I feel like there's a lot of ways to like use the poetics. That I'm from a theater background, and that's so much more common in theater than it is in sort of straight contemporary American drama film, like realism based film. And I think horror really frees you to exist in a space, supernatural or not, where things can be heightened and larger than life. And I think that's like very, very attractive to both of us.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really just, I mean, I think like I certainly am a horror fan, but I'm also like even more so a horror aesthetic fan, you know. And I think like this film, it is a little bit of us just like playing with, again, just like loving kind of witch films and stuff, but also just, yeah, what's supernatural, you know, like I'm always gonna want, you know, candles and you know, and doing a spell, sitting on the ground doing a spell. And I think like that's just like another um yeah, just another element of just like how to kind of heighten the world as best as we can in kind of a small indie film.
Mhm. So you guys have done multiple projects together. And how many projects have you guys done?
Too many.
Well,
So
okay.
this is feature number
Yeah.
3. We also did a web series. We did 3 seasons of a web series before we started doing features, and we've done a
Okay.
couple of shorts.
Well, why do you guys work together?
I
It's just, you know, no one else can stand us, so we just have only gravitated to each other.
I mean, I think we very immediately. So Terrence originally cast me in the web series Graves, which was all his. It was he wrote it, he directed it. I was just an actor in it. And then after the first season, I started helping produce, but was still sort of not involved creatively beyond acting. But over the 3 years that we worked on that show, I think we found a lot of mutual affinity, a lot of like shared interest in exploring similar stories, similar characters, similar aesthetics, a lot of shared source material. We're both huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans. You know, I feel like every film we do, it's like you could play like a bingo, which with which Buffy episodes are being referenced. Um, and and then I think it like logically from there we started working together. But I think something that bears being acknowledged beyond that, that's like less specific to Terrence and I, is just that independent filmmaking is so hard. This work is so hard, and not just like making the movie, but continuing to feel alive in pursuit of the next project. And I'm truly grateful to have a partner. I don't know how anyone does it alone. I truly don't. um yeah, it feels both like logical from a interest in aesthetic, and like, you know, we're also very good friends. um but more existentially, it just feels necessary. I don't think either of us would have accomplished the things we have accomplished separately.
Mhm.
And I think the work also, like, right, like every project is its own standalone thing, but the work does build on itself. You know, I do think that like that's another boon, is like whether it's from on a producerial level of what have we been able to do, what can we do next, you know, on a writing level, you know, the themes that come around and come back around, like, oh, we never got to do this. I mean, even Summoners has elements that were in other scripts that we never got to do. And then even on the directing acting level, you know, you're building on trust, you're building on relationship, you're building on like kind of what excites me as a director, what excites her as an actor, what are things we know we can kind of push each other to do. Yeah, it just feels like, well, you know, this is working and we're building up stock in it. So in theory, it's only going to get better and better as we try, you know, as we try to like, what's going to be the film that hopefully breaks us through, you know.
Mhm. Well, you have a nice set of work so far, but what's coming next?
I mean, that's an interesting question. Like, to be perfectly candid, you know, we've self-financed our first film, and I to this day am not entirely sure how we came up with the money. It was like in little pieces over the couple of years that we shot it and did it in post, and then we sold it to Shudder, and we used that money to finance the next two. And like when I say I don't know how people do it alone, right, the current sort of unfortunate truth is until we sell a movie or somebody finances it, nothing is next. Like we're out of money. Like and it is like, I think there's a lot of really positive, like just make your movie, make movies with your friends, and I am absolutely pro that, and we have done that. And I'm very, very glad that we have. But I feel like it's important to say things like this because I feel like we often like skip past, like it is also hard. It costs a lot financially. It costs, you know, and so yeah, right now we are just as curious what's next as anybody else.
There's certainly things, you know, there's certainly scripts and stuff like that that we have in development that we're very excited about, and that could be really great, you know, with the help of you know, other producers, production companies. But yeah, we're kind of a little bit at a crossroads of there's a desire to kind of do something a little bit bigger, you know, versus the kind of scrappier things that we've been doing. So, you know, Hollywood, if you're out there,
Yeah, I was
put
gonna
my
say,
number on the right here.
Just blinking at the bottom.
Yeah.
we'll have a crawl at the bottom.
That'd be great.
No, so I guess right now the message is producers, investors, you guys see Summoners.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, these two already have a proven track record, and they have scripts in the can ready to go. So watch the movie and reach out to them. So there you go.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Love it.
absolutely. I mean, independent film and indie cinema is tough. So we love supporting that. So how can people see Summoners?
Right now,
Now you
so
can't.
yeah, well, we just
Oh.
we just had our premiere at in-person premiere at Brooklyn Horror. Hopefully, there'll be some more maybe festival news down the line that we can announce, and but
We're working
and
on
then of course,
distribution, so
and then yeah, hopefully there'll be some good distribution news down the line as well.
I think the
So,
I'm
answer is
sure
just
it'll
keep
end
an
up
ear
on
to the
Shudder.
ground.
yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be good. So you guys, Terrence, Christine, thank you for coming on, talking. Come back, and we can talk more about how to get your film out there and distributed. But
Amazing. Love
that'd
that.
be great.
yeah, excellent. Well, Terrence, Christine, best of luck on Summoners, and you guys keep an eye out because I'm sure it's gonna end up on Shudder. So so best of luck with this release, and come back again soon, please.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Bye, you guys.